Today we discuss what's new in CloudBees CI 2.277.1.2. Are you new here? If you are, welcome. And if you are new here, you don't know who I am. My name is Darren Pope, and I'm a developer advocate for CloudBees. On March 11th, 2021, CloudBees released CloudBees CI 2.277.1.2. This release is based on Jenkins 2.277.1. Down in the description, there is a link to a video that I did with Mark Waite, the Jenkins documentation officer, going through all of the details of everything that happened within that release. If you've never looked at the release notes before for CloudBees CI, let me walk you through how to get to those. First off, we're going to start at docs.cloudbees.com. We're going to click on Documentation and then go down to CloudBees CI. On the left nav, there is a documentation dropdown. Click on that, and at the very bottom, select Release Notes. And here we are on the Release Notes page for CloudBees CI. Specifically, at the top is the latest version, which as of today is 2.277.1.2. Now, there is a big red box here just in case you've missed that. This is very, very important, and this reiterates a number of the items that Mark and I discussed in the video that is down below. Let me call out a couple of the items that are reiterated in this box. If you are using any Jenkins plugins that are not inside of the CloudBees Assurance program, you need to update those before upgrading your CloudBees products. There's a number of reasons why this is. Mark and I go into this in greater detail in the video below. If you have proprietary plugins, whether it's ones that you've written within your company, whether it's from another vendor that is not part of the Jenkins ecosystem, you will want to test those against either Jenkins version 2.277.1 or set up a separate CloudBees CI environment that is running 2.277.1.2 to make sure those plugins still work. Now, what is all this fuss about? The March release finally brought about 4 big items that had been called out since December of 2020, and actually even before that. There are a couple of links here in the red section. One is about Spring and XStream. These are 2 of the larger items that were made. This is a blog post that Jesse Glick wrote in November of 2020 that goes into the details of both Spring changes and XStream. The other item is something called tables to divs. And there's also another name for it that Mark and I discussed in the other video. We're going to do a demo today to see how this changes so you can see the differences. Now, if you've been with me on previous videos, I typically walk you through the full release notes for both traditional and modern cloud platforms. Today, I'm going to leave that up to you. The lists are very short in comparison to numbers of other releases because a lot of this revolves around these items, specifically Acegi to Spring Security, the XStream Unfork, and tables to divs. There was also a jQuery change, but that one was a much smaller change. But those were the 4 big changes that occurred in this release. Let me take you to an existing CloudBees CI client controller. And let's take a look at this. Now, just so you know which one it is, we are running 2.263.4.1. And specifically, going back to the notes that it says if you're running any kind of plugins, you want to make sure that you've upgraded your plugins prior to doing your upgrade to the 277 line. So if you take a look at Beekeeper here, I am running 2.263.4.1 revision 2. So from this perspective, this client controller is fully patched. Let's take a look at a couple of the configurations that I have here, and I want you to see these, and then we will take a look at them again after we do an upgrade. So let's click on Dashboard and go to Manage Jenkins. If we go to Configure System, I already have a shared library, a global shared library, configured on this controller. Right now, I am zoomed in at 150%, so the things I'm getting ready to show you are even more exaggerated. So as we scroll down, we get to our global pipeline library section. I have lots of white space over here on the left, library sort of here, and then all this information is already sort of off the screen. I have to scroll right, and once I've fully scrolled right, it's not too bad. But what happens if I size down my screen? Okay, well, there was a resize event that occurred there, and it sort of reset itself a little bit, but I'm still having to scroll right. As I continue sizing down the screen, what happens? Well, it becomes even worse. So keep this in mind. This is the shared library. Let's sort of size back to where we were. Also, one more thing, I have set up a GitHub organization job type. And if we take a look at the configuration of this job, you'll notice that everything here, again, lots of trapped white space on the left. And for my project recognizer, I am using a custom script, also known as a marker file. So my marker file is my marker file, and I am loading in a Jenkins file from a Git repository. Well, again, here we can see that I'm having to scroll right to set up this information, at least in the zoom level that I'm running. If I resize this window down again, you're going to see that this becomes even worse. And we can even see up here that the tabs become just sort of unusable at this point. So you can sort of see underneath here, I'm ready to upgrade this controller. So let's go ahead and do that now. And it's going to ask me for a yes. And right now here, you can see that we are upgrading to 277.1.2. So once this finishes loading and installing, we're going to take a look at our controller again. Okay, and now we're back. So let's go ahead and log in. Now I'm still at my 150% zoom. I'm logging in here, and you really won't notice a whole lot of difference on our landing screen. But let's go to Manage Jenkins. And then Configure System. And as Configure System loads, we're going to see a very different layout. And this is the tables to divs change. So instead of seeing things with a label on the left and then values on the right, now we're sort of seeing this stacked version, which is the tables to div change. Let's scroll down to our global pipeline library configuration. Now you'll notice, other than the left nav area, everything is much more laid out in a way that you can follow it. And what I mean by follow is this. Watch what happens. Okay, we have a minor resize event there. That's fine. But this gets even better because now the left nav has moved up top. And I'm not going to scroll up because that's a long ways up. But let's watch what happens as we size down this screen. Now, you're not typically going to be configuring your CloudBees CI controller using your phone. But just in case you had to, now it's possible. It was possible before, but very painful. Now it's usable. So we can see the name, the main version. I'm not having to scroll right to do anything. Now, okay, my repository reference is longer than the text box. Okay, that's reasonable. But everything is visible here. I could make the changes if I was working on my phone. And in fact, if I size this all the way down, there was a little bit more of a resize event. Yes, it's ugly when you're sized down this small, but wow, Take a look at that. You're still able to use this even in a very sized down browser. Now, that was for the global pipeline library. Let's go back up to our GitHub organization job. Now remember, I was using a marker file and I was having to scroll right, and as we sized down, it got really hard to read. Let's take a look at that one now. So as we click on Configure, we'll scroll down. You can already sort of see what's happening here. Everything's already sized width-wise, so it's more readable. Let's go down to our marker file area. Okay, we see our marker file. All of that looks good, just as we were expecting. But let's go ahead and size this down. Watch what happens. Our tab area still stays usable, unlike before. We're able to see all of our behaviors, and we're able to manage our marker file section without having to scroll right. I mean, we can scroll right if we need to, but there's really nothing much there. The usability changes that were implemented in tables to divs make CloudBees CI much easier to manage in most any screen resolution. As I've mentioned earlier in the video, Mark Waite and I did a What's New in Jenkins 2.277.1. You can go watch that video for more granular details about each of the changes that occurred in the Jenkins release. There's also a link to a blog post and 4 knowledge base articles that will help you through this transition. If you are a CloudBees CI client and you have any questions, please reach out to support. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to us on Twitter at CloudBeesDevs. If this video was helpful to you today, please give us a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed to CloudBees TV yet, why not? Take a moment, click on the subscribe button, and then ring that bell, and you'll be notified anytime there's new content available on CloudBees TV. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.